Where would that come from? Okay. Well, in actual fact, there's quite a lot of money. If people then put that back into the education system, then it will come back into the state. But you could make that conditional on national service for a year, which would answer some of your questions about cohesion. And if you had national service, it could be working as a teaching assistant in a school, in a clinic. You'd immediately give people work experience. Now, some people would not want to do national service because their parents are so wealthy, they don't want to do this, so they don't get the 200,000 rands. It's a very clear deal. Now, obviously, how it works is going to be very difficult in practice. But if we're not thinking about this kind of thing, as I said, not my proposal, then I don't think we're going to change this dynamic at all. And if you give somebody 200,000 rands, they may choose not to go to university. They may say, I want to start a business. Now, of course, the business may fail. And people may use it for other means, etc. You may say, look, how would you use that? You can commit. You may find people actually are taking up shorter-term qualifications to become artisans because after a year they're earning money as a plumber or an electrician. So they say, why would I want to go to university? If you make university free, again, for everybody, you might find lots of people get degrees and you know, are not really facing up to that challenge of how are they going to earn income and create jobs for themselves to make that kind of investment. So yes, there's risks involved. But I think if we're not putting faith in young people, particularly, we have a very big problem. So this one side of the wealth tax is, I think, what do you do with the money? It's not just saying, have the tax. I think it is very interesting to go back and read the TRC and the business submissions, and I think that's the kind of thing we should be doing now, because there were some very strong-worded observations made by the TRC on the nature of those business submissions and how pathetic they were. In terms of Chris's point about business is ideological and it will undermine business confidence, I want to be kind of contrarian in a sense and say, you know, business wants to know that when you make an investment, there's some certainty about what happens from that point going forwards. That's why businesses invest in China and in Nazi Germany. And in, you know, businesses invest where they see those rules. Now, it's up to civil society, government, etc., to set those rules. I think radical economic transformation, which is completely undefined, undermines business confidence. This is not speculative. Right now, business is sitting on huge cash piles. I mean, we're doing work on the top 50 of the JSE. How has it changed? And what's very interesting, first of all, you have, you know, a huge part of the JSE's value is actually 3 or 4 large international companies, SAB Miller, British American Tobacco, whose revenues, less than 10% of their revenues come from South Africa. They're not South African. Includes Naspers, etc. So JSE's value is hugely overinflated in a sense relative to what our economy actually does. So take them out. We've got 7 property funds on the JSE, and I thought, oh, there's a growth point, etc. 3 of those property funds, we didn't know what they were. They're not property funds that build properties in South Africa. They're property funds building shopping centers in Germany and the UK. So people are buying shares here in property funds who are sitting on money because they're not seeing profitable opportunities, because there is right now so much uncertainty about what radical economic transformation means or the breakdown of the social compact. So if we instead said real economic transformation, which would be things like improving public transport so that travel time to peri-urban areas, clearly spatial dimensions, in the next 3 years will reduce by 30%, and we're going to audit it. This will mean parents have more time to do their homework with their children, etc., to have all sorts of social benefits. That would be real economic transformation. And it would help businesses as well, because people would get to work on time at a very, very simplistic level. And you know, our cities would function more effectively. And I think if we did those kinds of steps and commitments, I think would have credibility if they were worked out, you'd find business investing very quickly. I actually think this economy can actually grow quite quickly at the moment as it is without infrastructure.
And I think one of the things where this has then brought us is that I suppose the difference now from the vantage point of 2017 to when South Africa's transition took place and in 1994 is that we're in a period of it being legitimate globally, and there's the opportunity to question neoliberalism. Remember, 1994 was the height of neoliberal Washington sort of consensus, and where the option of what the kinds of conversation you could have about public goods, about tax, about business sacrifice, was very limited, the scope of the conversation. And I think that one of the things about where we are sitting now is that we're able to have those conversations in far greater detail.